What up, nerds? My name's Ryan. I did my HSC in 2019, and in this video, I'm going to guide you through an essay paragraph that I wrote on the subversion of novelistic convention in the curious incident of the dog in the nighttime. First, I'll briefly analyze a series of quotes, and then show how I used them in an example paragraph, explaining the structure, the techniques used, and the generalized thought process I go to write a paragraph like that. Click the link in the top right to be taken to the full Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime playlist. So the last video was focusing on Christopher's unique personal voice and how he differs from the average person, quotes and examples that showed that. This paragraph, however, is about how the actual novel itself is structured and written in a very divergent way. As soon as you start reading the book, the first thing that I noticed, the first thing that you probably noticed as well, is that the first page was labeled as 2. Okay, that's a bit strange. Maybe the first page is lost. Next page is labeled as 3. Okay, that looks more familiar. Next page is labeled as 5. What the hell? The pages are numbered not in terms of the standard integer series, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc., but rather in terms of the prime numbers, which is very, very strange. It's a complete subversion of novelistic convention, right? You don't see that anywhere else. And Christopher states prime numbers are what's left, what is left, when you have all the patterns taken away. It's a reflection of his love for mathematics, basically. So the next set of quotes are how the novel subverts expectations about genre and cliché. So we are told on page 3 of the book, and actually these page numbers are referring to a PDF version of the book, which you can see in the description down below. He states that this novel is a murder mystery novel. First of all, it's strange because it's stating the genre straight out. And second of all, it's strange because the victim of the murder is a dog, and about halfway through the book it changes from a murder mystery to more of a coming-of-age story. So not only is the genre of murder mystery blurred a bit in the book, the genre itself also just completely shifts halfway through the book. So that's a subversion of convention. He also says this at the very start of the book, if I remember correctly. It was 7 minutes past midnight. That's a subversion of the midnight cliché. And he also has this very strange and awkward addition of 7 minutes. Like, most people would consider midnight, it was midnight, to be sufficient, but no, it immediately gives us a glimpse into Christopher's character, how he likes to be very, very specific. It gives a little glimpse into his autism, basically. And in this final quote, like, this itself is evidence of how the genre has shifted from murder mystery to coming of age. As Christopher states, I went to London on my own and I solved the mystery of who killed Wellington, and I found my mother and I was brave and I wrote a book, and that means I can do anything. Not only is this evidence of the shift in genre, but it's also one of many examples of his awkward writing, his trail on sentences, his tendency to reference things very specifically. Instead of saying, I solved the mystery of the dog that was killed, and I solved the mystery, just leaving it at that, he says, I solved the mystery of who killed Wellington, and he writes it with a question mark as well. So how did I use this brief set of quotes in an example paragraph? Well, I'll read it to you first, and then I'll explain how I wrote it. The subversion of novelistic convention allows texts to explore the nature of difference. Haddon's novel subverts expectations through the use of prime-numbered pages, indefinite genre, the use of math, puzzles, diagrams, and maps. The book is ordered in the prime number series, which reflects Christopher's love of mathematics. Prime numbers are what is left when you have taken all the patterns away. In the same vein, Haddon uses indefinite genre to demonstrate that the path of life, whether with autism or not, is non-linear and never quite as expected. This piece of meta-literature references itself as Christopher states, this is a murder mystery novel. The murder victim of the novel is a dog instead of a person, demonstrating difference in the very construction of the story. The opening line, it was 7 minutes after midnight, is instantly a parody of the midnight cliché. The seemingly random addition of 7 minutes actually becomes much more significant as the reader progresses through the novel. Furthermore, halfway through, the genre shifts to become a Bildungsroman or coming-of-age story, as Christopher embarks on his journey to find his mother. This change in focus keeps readers on their toes and adds to the perception of Christopher as a real person who is legitimately recounting their experiences. The book ends with Christopher summarizing, I went to London on my own and I solved the mystery of who killed Wellington, and I found my mother and I was brave and I wrote a book, and that means I can do anything. This heartwarming ending emphasizes the big ways in which Christopher has stepped outside of his comfort zone. The idea of overcoming hardship through experience is creatively explored through Christopher's run-on sentences. Haddon also chooses to make Christopher go on tangents every other chapter, which do not further the plot, but rather serve to develop the reader's understanding of Christopher's perspective. The inclusion of such things as mathematics puzzles and pictograms of basic emotions and maps further breaks novelistic convention. Entire chapters full of allusions to such things as the Hounds of Bakersville, Sherlock Holmes, and the Monty Hall problem epitomize this subversion. Through the subversion of novelistic conventions, Haddon's novel is able to convey key ideas about the nature of difference. All right, fairly standard structure here. So we have an introduction. And in the introduction, we have an idea/conceptual statement. So the subversion of novelistic conventions allows texts to explore the nature of difference. And that conceptual statement is a link to the requirements of Module B. So students explore and analyze the particular ideas and characteristics of the text and understand the ways in which these characteristics establish its distinctive qualities. And so I've basically reframed that as subversion of novelistic conventions explores the nature of difference. In the next section, we have a direct link to the text. Haddon's novel subverts expectations in these ways. So we've gone from the conceptual idea to the specific representation of that idea within the text. And I've given a brief and quick summary of what I intend to talk about throughout the rest of the essay. This section, we explore the prime numbers, and pretty much this entire section here, we explore the indefinite genre and the subversion of cliches. And then down here we have a nice little summary of some of the other weird and odd things that we see in the text. So we have how Christopher goes on tangents, the inclusion of mathematics puzzles, pictograms, and maps, and the many allusions to other texts that seem quite out of place in the novel. And then we just have a standard conclusion that links back to the introduction and the link to text. And so this video is pretty brief because the essay paragraph itself is quite simple. I suggest you go and watch the other video that I did on Christopher's unique personal voice, because I think that one's a little more in depth. That one's a little more important to your understanding of the text. I think this one's a more impressive paragraph. So if you want to see that, click the link in the top right. Also, if you happen to be doing The Merchant of Venice or One Night the Moon, I also have videos for that. You can find that just by clicking the channel icon down below. So good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.